Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
From Don't Crop Me Now. It's the beginning of April, it's the 2nd of April, so this is the second in our series of plot tours for the 2023 season. Let's start on plot 4, and this is the plot, I always say this, it's the plot that we've had the longest, and it's our most established plot where we grow the majority of our annual vegetables. So this is a large plot, it is 250 square metres. That's a typical full plot in the UK. And the majority of this is set up with permanent raised beds. There's a mixture of paths, we've got some slabs and we've got some wood chips. At the moment, I would say it is pretty tidy, we've got it all ready. We are no dig, we have not mulched our beds, but it's pretty set up for the growing season. So let's have a look around. There are definitely signs of spring around here. So if we have a look just where Anthony's standing, if he goes down, you can see that I did miss some parsnips when I was digging these out earlier in spring, and these have started to grow. So these are biennial plants, and the second year they will go to seed. So I am going to leave some of these in, not all of them because some of them are a bit in the way, but the ones that are perhaps to the end of this bed, I am going to leave to go to seed, and we'll try and collect some seed from that. If we have a look around the tree over here, we can see these signs of spring that I was talking about. And here on our Bramley apple tree, you can see it is starting to go into leaf, and there are signs where we are going to get some blossoms that are forming. So this is looking like we are going to get a good crop, fingers crossed, again on this tree. Underneath the tree you can see some absolutely beautiful flowers like these lovely spring bulbs, and they are giving a brilliant display. Other signs of spring that we have is, let's look at these strawberries that are in this basket, and these are definitely starting to sprout. I've left these here just for a case of tidying up, but we will actually put them back in our fruit cage. They hang from the roof there. We've got a little bit of a start on these spring flowers like this Aubrietia here, and it's looking quite pretty. Around the pond area you can see that some of the perennial plants are starting to sprout, like this hosta just here. If we have a good look down the plot, one of the things that really sticks out to me is that rhubarb. And the video that we did maybe a month ago, it wasn't that much there, but there is definitely quite a bit of rhubarb. We could probably have a decent picking on that. Underneath this bin here is some rhubarb that we have been forcing. So let's have a look to see if anything has happened here. And not bad really. I think some light has got in, but it has started to force. I'll put that back on and I'll leave that a little bit longer. But to be honest, if we look at that rhubarb that is right in the middle there, we probably could pick and eat from that already. So here I'm standing right in the middle of our asparagus bed. There is not any sign of asparagus that is coming through yet, which is pretty good because we've actually bought a frame to put over here, and we've had a few issues with putting it up, and we haven't managed to do that this weekend. So I'm quite pleased that they're not sprouting through just yet. Last year we had a real problem with some of the local cats on the ground coming in and chewing and eating all the asparagus. So I did want to get this frame up before they start to sprout. So that's going to have to be a job that we do definitely get on with quickly. The rest of the plot here is pretty much sort of tidy and set up. There are a few spring cabbages in here that are looking really nice. If Anthony comes and zooms in on those, you can see that they are starting to heart up under these netting. One of my best tips is literally net it or forget it for brassicas, and particularly at this time of year. The pigeons will be absolutely looking for all those greens. So if I uncovered these, we would have nothing left in probably literally like an hour or so. So if you do have spring brassicas, make sure they are definitely covered if pigeons are a problem in your area. If we go further down the plot, we do still have quite a lot of leeks that we have not picked yet. Unfortunately, the lid off our new compost bin managed to blow off in the wind because we hadn't secured it properly and blew right onto the leeks. So some of them got a little bit squished, but they're okay. We still need to pick the majority of them, and we will definitely do that over the next few weeks. One of the interesting things that we have here in this bed is some root stock for grafting of fruit trees that we have been potting up to grow on. We've actually done a separate video about that if you're interested in that technique. I'm not sure they're going to stay here because, to be honest, I don't want to waste the space. I think I'm going to put them onto the fruit plot, which is 2B, and find some sort of spaces to squeeze them in there. But if Anthony has a good look up the plot, and you'll see at the moment, I would say this is a tidy plot with not much in. We have not yet mulched our beds, but we will do that over the next few weeks. The main planting time around here, the last frost, is about the middle of May. So we are in North England, in South Manchester, so we have got quite a bit of time yet. Let's have a look at the flower bed on plot 4. And this is looking really nice. I'm really pleased with how much a lot of the bulbs that we put in are really sprouting through. There's quite a few little daffodils and tulips, but there's also quite a lot of other bulbs, particularly alliums, that are in there. I do think this flower bed is probably going to be the first year, and probably many years, maybe at least 10 years, that I'm feeling I might actually be satisfied with this flower bed on plot 4. We have a row of raspberries that form the side of plot 4, and you can see that they are coming through really nicely now. These raspberries have been in quite a while, I think probably around 8 years. We'll have to see how well they fruit this year. I'm not sure whether it's getting to the time that we should be starting taking those out and putting some fresh stock in, but we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully we will get some sort of fruit going for this autumn from this row. We are now over on plot 2B, which is our polytunnel and our fruit plot. And there's some interesting stuff that's actually going on in our polytunnel, so let's start there. This is our apricot tree. Now this flowered absolutely beautifully over the last few weeks. However, it was so cold that essentially there were not that many pollinators around. I know it looks beautifully sunny today, but it hasn't been like that around here. So I had to get a paintbrush and go over all the flowers on here. So I'm not really sure how well they will pollinate, because ultimately nature always does a better job than what you're trying to do. However, if we go in very closely, there are definitely some flowers that have set, because if you see there in the middle of that flower, there is a little tiny green blob, and that is definitely a flower that has set fruit. So I think there is a chance we're going to get something. Who knows? But I was actually really pleased to see that. What else is going on in this tunnel? I have to say, there are a load of potatoes that are sprouting. These are some potatoes that we left in here that I hadn't harvested, and they are really taking off now. I think what I'm going to do is I might leave these and just see if we can harvest them a little bit later on. I don't know what sort of crop we will get, but some of the yields on some of our later potatoes weren't too high. So I don't know if each pot will have too many potatoes in, and potentially they might act as decent seed potatoes. So I'm tempted to leave at least some of them, perhaps something like this one that's growing a bit more slowly, just to see if we do get an early crop. The only other sort of stuff we got in here is a massive mound of compost. This is the used compost from all the pots from last year. And I'm using this as the basis of my potting mix, adding in quite a few other ingredients. So that's why I've got this all in this 1 ton bag. I had to sort of put this contraption together here really to try and hold the bag up so it didn't fall over. So it's not the most beautiful thing that is set up, but it's quite functional. Here is the rest of our fruit cage. We didn't buy a particularly expensive fruit cage that we're going to put over where the asparagus is. Have to say I'm not too impressed with the quality at the moment. We had some problems actually getting it up, but hopefully we can just get a few extra parts and it will do the job really for the asparagus. But that's what all this metal work is around here. And here we are on the fruit area of plot 2B, and there are definitely even more signs of spring on here. So on this apple tree, similar to the Bramley, you can see that we have got leaves and flower shoots that are forming here. On this pear tree, it's looking particularly impressive. It's absolutely covered with blooms. Again, we have another apple tree here, so it's all looking like it's coming into life. The fig tree seems a little bit slower, but you can see that there is definitely growth on here. And if Anthony comes in, you can see that the tiny budding of those figs suggests that there's definitely life in this plant. We gave this a massive prune, much more than we probably should have done last winter because we really need to take the vigour out of some of this plant. But it's looking okay and it's definitely growing. Another interesting thing that is coming up on this plot, if you can see in these tubs here and also around this apple tree over here, is this plant which is comfrey, and we grow that as part of our making our liquid fertilizers, and that's always a really nice sign of spring. Underneath here we have a cherry tree. I have been thinking about taking this out, and I probably will. It causes a bit too much shading really for the polytunnel, but I think I'm going to let it blossom for this year and deal with it maybe later on in the summer. I was thinking about chopping this out and then potentially grafting in some cherries to grow around this water butt as opposed to it all being up here. But you can see there's lots of leaf and lots of potential blossom on here, and if anything it's absolutely beautiful and smells lovely. So I think I would definitely leave this for now. I'm not sure how many fruits we're going to get because the birds tend to get them all because we can't net something like this obviously, but spring is definitely sprung around here at Granville Park Allotments. Let's look in the fruit cage. So if we go into the fruit cage, again, lots of growth. So if we look here, this is one of our blueberries, and again this is looking brilliant too. In fact, all the blueberries are looking really good, which is promising because again I gave these a massive haircut this winter after not really pruning them very effectively. So that is quite pleasing to see. We can see brilliant blossom all over this Victoria plum tree, and hopefully as the sun is out now, if we get a few days of reasonable weather, hopefully nature will do its job here and we'll get some good pollination on this tree. The berries in the background, which are red currants and also gooseberries, look brilliant as well. They are definitely all starting to bud up, and the pruning on that I think looks like we did a decent job, and that's going to be reasonably accessible. Just to this side here, this is another plum tree. It definitely needs a good prune because it's trying to escape out of the top of the fruit cage. But I didn't manage to do that at the right time of year, so that's going to have to be something that's done after the fruit has set, sort of midsummer. And right down the bottom here, we have some of these wild strawberry types in these hanging baskets. You can see the leaves are much smaller and they look really good as well. We need to get them back up on the hooks that hang off this fruit cage. So that's definitely something we also need to get on with. We are now over to plot 5B, and this is the last one of our plots. So we have the one full plot, which is 4, 2B, which is a half plot, and 5B, which is also a half plot. And again, this one is pretty much clear. We're waiting to mulch this. We'll probably do that in a couple of weeks, but the signs of growth are also great. If Anthony looks down, you can see that we've got a strawberry bed here that is showing good signs, looking very healthy. We can see more budding up of this grafted fruit tree and the conference pear in the background. I can't see that we've got any frog spawn in our mini temporary pond, although there seems to be frog spawn in everybody else's ponds around the plot, but it looks like the frogs haven't quite found that yet. All around with the pots, you can see these are lots of different types of herbs. There's a hosta and a few other flowers, but mainly herbs, and they are coming back into growth as well. Things are looking really healthy in a lot of our fruit cuttings. You can see here these currants are really trying to escape. We've got gooseberries, we've got fig cuttings. It's all looking really good in here. Over here we have got loads and loads of strawberry runners that we potted up, and we actually did a video about potting these ones up. It was around September. They are looking great. We are going to plant out a new bed of strawberries to use those. And then the rest of the plot here is pretty much ready to go. Once we've got it mulched, you see I've dropped a load of compost here that was just spent compost really, that we'll use as part of our mulch, and the majority of our mulch is still here. This is our composted, well-rotted composted manure that we will use as our mulch. So obviously you can see it's quite dry on the top, but right underneath it's absolutely, a bit of plastic we don't particularly want, but absolutely brilliant stuff. That's what we'll be using to mulch the beds. And you can see that this entire area is completely full, so there is a large volume here, and this one is maybe 2/3 full. You can see how fine it is actually when you get in here, and it's like absolutely perfect compost. So if Anthony turns back round, you can see the rest of plot 5B. Under the netting over here is actually some spring kale, so we could probably eat that pretty soon as well, maybe in some salads or something like that. So it's looking pretty good. Let's just give you a quick look at the community plot. I think we need to do another full update on the community plot because a lot's gone on there and it's looking really good, but we'll give you a sneak preview. So here is the community plot, and essentially it is just about ready to go. We need to get a manure delivery and we need to get a wood chips delivery, but it is pretty much set up now. A lot of work has gone into this over the last probably 6 to 8 weeks to take this from a completely derelict allotment really to something that I hope people think is looking pretty good, because I'm really happy with that. So if you've enjoyed the video today, please like, comment and subscribe. It only takes a minute, but it really does help our channel. So take care everyone. Bye.
Bye.